Here's 40 shillings on the drum for those who volunteer to come to list and fight the foe today over the hills and far away. O'er the hills and o'er the plain, through Flanders, Portugal and Spain, King George commands and we obey.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of the Friday Salon.
Thank you for witnessing us adjust our chairs.
Today, we're going to discuss about a very interesting, we could say, book and character,
One that has sculpted the 20th century and therefore our modern day as well.
an irrefutable personage,
A pillar of modernity of the 21st century, of the 20th.
Winston Spencer Churchill.
The man,
And
the myth, the legend.
the reason why he signed his books by Winston Spencer Churchill and not just Winston Churchill was because there was another writer in the
Yes.
US called Winston Churchill. Yes.
Often confused.
Two great gentlemen. So you all know, we shall never surrender. We shall fight on the beaches, on the landing ground,
On the hills, yes.
right? You all know that. But what we're going to discuss today is that masterpiece, My Early Life.
Yes, it's pretty much an account of his adolescence, his up and coming, his struggles, his trials and tribulations as he escapes from childhood into adulthood and carves out a space for himself in Victorian England.
A roving commission.
Yes.
So that's a story about Winston Churchill's, we could say, epopee. Those are the experiences that shaped the men, okay?
For sure.
Those are the habits, the experiences that shaped what would become one of the greatest statesmen in
Of all times.
Of course, right?
Of all times.
We can see whenever a US president talks, especially nowadays, we have the bust of Winston Churchill right behind the
Yes,
president,
it's true.
right?
It's true.
Right? Winston Churchill. Let's start from the beginning. That's a good way of starting, no?
Well, yeah, better to start at the beginning than the
Right?
end,
So who was Winston?
Well, one thing that really stands out about Winston is his lineage, his heritage.
Yeah.
He has that very interesting admixture of his aristocratic father and his bourgeois mother. On the one hand, Lord Randolph, the son of the Duke of Marlborough, there's that emphasis on tradition, heritage, and prestige and aristocracy coming from his British father. And then on the other, his mother, from the Jerome family, a prominent New York socialite family that made their killing in business and finance. And so we'll discuss it as the episode goes on, but we see these two forces combine and coalesce into a very complicated man, Winston
Completely.
Churchill.
We have Winston Churchill basically as a mixture, we could
Yes.
say, of the well-established Anglo-Saxon aristocracy. His ancestor John Churchill, first Lord Churchill, right,
Yeah.
was the man who defeated the armies of Louis XIV on the continent. And that is why he was awarded the Blenheim Palace, which I've had the chance of visiting in
Lucky you.
2015. Really impressive. It's the only castle in England other than the Queen's palaces
Buckingham, yes.
that has the title of palace.
Correct.
Yes. And that was in honor of his victory, John Churchill, against the armies of Louis XIV.
14th.
Right?
Yes.
And
Before that, he was given the title the Duke of Marlborough, the Earl of Marlborough.
exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
Let's make the distinction between the Duke of Marlborough and the cigarette brand, first of all.
Oh, completely. Nothing to do with it.
No.
But Churchill's mother was from the Jerome family. The Jerome family is a well-established, one of the first American families, we could say. They were on the Mayflower,
Mhm.
okay, on the first ship that came to the US. And they're a very rich family.
They're
His-
kind of great Gatsby.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. So his mother, Jenny Jerome, was a socialite. She
For
was
sure.
a woman who was very well connected with the Prince of Wales, with the richest American philanthropist,
Yes.
with all the aristocracy. She used to be great at networking and especially of moving forward the interests of her sons.
If she had a LinkedIn today, she would be killing it.
Literally.
It's a shame it wasn't around back
The
then.
queen of HR management, the queen, we could even say, of LinkedIn influencer.
For sure.
Right? More than that. So Winston Churchill grew up in a family that had a long established heritage. But the thing was that he was the son of the second son of the Duke of Marlborough.
That's a big burden, eh?
Therefore, he needed to
Live up to it. Pay homage and patronage.
not just, but also build his wealth.
Mhm.
And he always says it like,
Yes.
money, money, that grumbling factor in my life.
Yes, it's kind of, he recognized it as being a necessary evil.
Exactly, like he never understood the value of money because when you grew up in with those tapestries and those paintings of the exploits of your ancestor,
Right.
right, all over.
What is money to you?
What is money to you, right?
Right.
So he used to spend money like it was nothing.
But he didn't neglect its necessity. Then.
Never once his wife Clementine Hosier told him, Winston, listen, honestly, we're going broke. He was like, oh, don't worry, Clementine. I will start smoking 6 rather than 10 cigars a day. Like, he didn't have a real value of money. He used to write blank checks. His mother told him, Winston, you can't write blank checks. In America, you'd go to jail. What are you doing?
Yes.
And he didn't really comprehend it. Okay? So, but of course, he had financial issues, believe it or not. Winston Churchill had financial issues.
Crazy, man.
And he used to live upon his salary. He said it himself. His goal wasn't even money. He didn't want to be rich.
No, his goal was like literally living up to his ancestors.
Exactly. His goal was just to live up to his heritage.
To emulate it.
So what did he do? First of all, as
any proper aristocratic young boy from the great country.
Where's our governor friend?
Too bad
he should have been here.
We have our buddy the governor.
Yes, shout out to the governor friend of ours.
Cheers to you.
One of the best, well-established family in the UK.
Absolutely.
In the Commonwealth. Cheers.
You know who you are.
Anyways, so he went to Harrow, first of all.
Classic.
Boarding school, of course. His parents.
He would have gone Eton, but it was too mainstream.
Of course.
It was too
No, he
mainstream
went
for
to
him.
Eton. He went to Eton afterwards.
He was at Sandhurst. He was at.
No, he went to Harrow. Then he went to Eton College. There, of course, he learned Latin. He learned the classics, the stuff we teach you, by the way. But of course, it was more complex. We could say more complex. He didn't really like to learn Greek and Latin and all of that stuff.
It's very interesting. He had a very complicated relation with his education and with academics.
Of course.
Yeah. He was that type of person that was too overstimulated to kind of sit in a classroom. His mind was always wandering and daydreaming about exploits and glory. And no wonder when his ancestors achieved the things that they had. You know, when your ancestor is someone that repelled the advance of Louis XIV, it's kind of difficult to sit in a classroom and be lectured at. And so his mind always wandered, and he would struggle at school for a long time until a turning point in his life, which was the death of his father.
Of course. But more than that, it was quite, we could say, the oxymoron. Because yes, he had bad grades, but sometimes he used to present exploits, meaning he used to recite Horatius.
For example, yes, he would be the top scorer in oratory competitions.
Like he used to recite the whole poetry of the Horatius poetry of Babington. Babington's Lays of Ancient Rome.
Yes.
Like that's 1,200 lines. He used to recite them like it was nothing.
From pure memory with artistic craft and so on.
He was great with words, okay? Although he always had like a problem articulating the R.
Yes, he had a stutter. He had a speech impediment.
Right? But that's normal. With all of the aristocracy, the British aristocracy have that. It's true. And I'll tell you more than that. Basically, Winston Churchill loved words and deeds.
Yes.
He used to be very focused on words. He even wrote a book called The Power of Words, or something like that, I would believe. And he was a great orator.
And it's very interesting, his interest in words. Why? Because words are so abstract, and words are the device which enable you to imagine and to construct things beyond what is materially within your grasp. And so considering the way in which he was overstimulated by the glorious past of his ancestry, it makes sense that he took solace in literature and in epics and in romance.
More than that, words are what unites people. If you want to gather people around you,
let's talk.
You need to gather them around a certain idea. You need to gather them around
some principles, around some words.
A common
words.
Inner kingdom. Therefore, Winston Churchill studied at Harrow. He was very sad when he was a kid, actually, and he used to say that because his parents didn't visit him, he had a tough relationship with his father, who thought of him that he was just a failure. Okay, and when your ancestor, of course, saved the whole empire from desolation,
ruin, and you want nothing more than to emulate them.
Yeah,
and instead they give you admonishment.
Of course, right? So he had a tough relationship with his father, his mother. He used to send letters.
Randolph, yes.
He used to send letters
and
to his
they would
mother.
go unanswered.
Yes, he used to say, please do visit me. He used to repeat the do. Please.
Yes, especially during his orations. He would beg his parents to attend them, just to see them, just so that he could know that they witnessed his success and his ability. He had this desire to prove them wrong.
like he used to describe his mother as being that fairy tale
Mm.
that he loved at a distance. He used to describe the only real maternal figure he had was Womany. Womany was his governess. His governess, all the aristocracy had like a lady who used to take care of them, who used to
He used to do the husbandry of the household.
exactly
The
yes.
upkeep of the household.
And when she was deceased, he was very sad. He
Mhm.
became very sad. It was a really tough day in his life, maybe the toughest, I would say. But of course, the most inspiring figure would be his father. His father,
Lord Randolph, yeah. Let's go into this, man.
whom of course, he loved at a distance. He loved at a distance, and therefore he, of course, memorized all of his speeches.
Yes,
Since he was a kid.
he was a member of the House of Lords.
Of course, the Commons.
Commons, yes,
yes. Remember,
Hence the distance that these two men had together. On the one hand, Lord Randolph kind of emblemized the distant father, let's say, in the sense that he was always emotionally reserved, in the sense that he was stoic and too focused on politics. He was too he was kind of a Homeric man in that sense. Yes, the Homeric men are warriors concerned with the external world, but a great portion of the external world is actually the exercise of words and the use of your oration to win the affection and support of your peers in the assembly, right? And so Lord Randolph was a Homeric man in the sense that he was not concerned with the domestic life very much. The external world was his domain, and at that, Winston became somewhat neglected
and
to his peril and pain.
even Jenny Jerome at the time was taking care of the networking of the household.
Especially when Lord Randolph was running for election.
Of course,
Yes.
she was the one assembling, we could say, the troops to the gathering storm, using the words
Of-
of our proponent here. And we can say that his parents were taking care of making connections.
the external world.
Of course.
Yes, consider he had a political mother, and that means the woman who is traditionally, classically, the domestic figure, the domestic lead of the household, was also concerned with the external world as well. Hence his conflicted household, private life.
So, Winston described, of course, that a sad childhood is the prelude of a great destiny. And therefore, he, of course, after school,
Which school? Sandhurst? Harrow?
well, he finished Harrow, he finished Eton College. And then, instead of going to university, which he regretted a lot, actually, he wanted to go to Oxford. He joined Sandhurst. His
Military
father,
college.
yes,
Yes.
not just any military college, an emblematic military
finest.
college, right?
The finest. And with not necessarily the encouragement of his father, but with the desire to impress his father, his grades improved rapidly.
Of course.
It's very interesting. Churchill had a deep passion for war. He somehow considered it as sport, as a competition, as a display of virtue and vigor and talent.
And he has that incredible quote saying that war used to be cruel and magnificent.
Right.
And that modernity, science, and democracy made it ugly and cruel.
Yes.
He used to deplore, actually, and that we take you back to our episode on René Guénon,
Yes.
the casualties in war.
Yes.
The casualties in war, the casualties is insane. You can see nowadays. In any small skirmish, in any small frontier border skirmish, you have thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of deaths. In those days, you need to understand, like people who used to go to war used to look at it as like hunting, but like
with other men.
Right, like they used to
like
look
it was sport. It was
like-
something for the aristocrat, and
They-
that's
like dying at a war was an exception.
kind of glorious. Yeah.
Not like, well, it was an exception.
Mm.
It was an exception. It was exceptional that a man died.
Yes.
Like when I mean exceptional, it was rare. It was rare.
Right.
There wasn't that many deaths, and we will see now with the Boer War how they used to treat each other. Those Europeans fighting each other with a lot of solemnity, a lot of rules. Those were the Geneva Conventions
Before
before
the
they were
International
written.
World Order. Yeah.
They had the Geneva Conventions in them.
Yes.
Honestly,
Which is to say, honor, warrior ethos. Hence the comparison to the Homeric men of the Iliad.
like, well, the only difference is in that case there were pacts between lions and men.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Good reference to the movie
and the book
and the book, and it's mentioned in the book.
and the book. So Winston Churchill went to the cavalry. He became a hussar officer.
Oh, yeah.
He looked insane, honestly. I won't lie to you.
You have his portrait on the thumbnail of this video to look at for yourself.
By all means. And more than that, I can tell you that he joined the hussars and he did pretty well. He wanted to see combat.
Not only wanted to see combat for his own glorious imagination and the fictitious not quite fictitious is the word, but for the reverence of warfighting and the admiration of his ancestry. But it was also because he had this kind of, as a result of his aristocratic lineage, which gave him a sense of tradition and historical continuity, politics was his interest a lot. And somehow, I think because of the mixture between his bourgeois mother and aristocratic father, he felt this. He combined both the prestige of aristocracy with the hustle of the bourgeoisie, right? And so, war for him was a way of increasing his rapport, of upgrading his reputation in the public, so that he could present himself in elections with pride, confidence, and dignity, knowing that he had served his country in the most daring form possible.
A way of getting known at the time
Was extraordinary deeds in war.
Winston Churchill was one of the first influencers, if not the first.
For sure, yeah.
Let's
He
be
wrote a very
honest.
popular book at one point
Let's be
that
honest.
was all the rage within high society.
Yes. He not only he wrote the book, he
He was a
wrote.
war correspondent, yes.
But before that, he was an officer. He was just a lieutenant, right? And he wrote a book called The River War, where he gave advices
Yes,
to
yes.
the High Command, to Kitchener,
Yes.
to Lord Kitchener.
Now, Lord Kitchener did not receive that book very well.
No,
He tossed it in the trash,
but you need to exactly. But you need to understand, like, he was a first lieutenant.
telling the generals what to do.
Exactly. You see,
No wonder he tossed it in the trash.
he reminds us a lot about his friend, a man he loved a lot, which we've made a video about him actually, Lawrence of Arabia.
True.
Yes,
Yes.
that disregard, that sense of internal superiority
Yes.
regarding high command.
Extreme high confidence and the authority in your own self. Like
Church-
your authority emanating from your own talents and ability, and rather instead of titles.
Churchill used to describe Lawrence of Arabia as a man like
A man the likes of which we shall never see again within our lives, give or take.
Exactly.
Something like that. And the
Literally.
two of them are quite similar in the sense that they are very, extremely versed in the classics.
Historical.
They're super historical, first of all. Second of all, that exploration, that imagination, these are both very abstract and creative and imaginative men. And third of all, that exploratory spirit. Lawrence of Arabia in the deserts of Saudi Arabia and in Egypt, and Winston Churchill all over the Victorian Empire, quite frankly.
Tobruk. Yeah, yes. So Churchill, you need to understand, it's very important to understand his young life, because he came at a crossroad when the empire,
Yes.
like he
The
was,
high Victorian era.
he was the last favorite son of the Victorian era.
There you go.
When
Beautiful.
Britannia ruled the seas, roll Britannia,
Britannia ruled the waves. Britain's shall be
slain. One more time. Rule Britannia, Britannia rule the waves. Britain's never shall be slain. Nice.
Literally.
So, you need to understand that at the time, the British Empire was. The US today has taken over the foreign policy of the British Empire.
Yes.
And the British
The
Empire.
Pax Britannica became the Pax Americana.
Exactly, which was the Pax Romana, of course, at essence. So that was the empire that was shaping the world. That was the empire that was putting order throughout the world.
Yeah.
Just like we see today with the Pax Americana, the new Pax Americana. We've seen the accords yesterday between Azerbaijan and Armenia, for example.
And if you want to understand it a bit better, you can check out our video where we discuss the mind of Donald Trump.
Of course. And more than that, like today, the British today, right, are just an American agent on the continent, on the European
With
continent.
more proximity to
To be
Europe.
completely
yes.
honest.
Charles de Gaulle did not make a distinction between the Americans and the British.
He called them the Anglo-Saxons, but now
Yes.
the center of that sphere of power
Has crossed the Atlantic.
from London to Washington D.C.
Yep.
Right? That's what it is. But it's the same policy. Look, the engagement of the British in Afghanistan,
Iraq.
for example, in Iraq,
Tony
in
Blair
Afghanistan.
with Bush, yes.
Same. You can see the engagement of the U.S. troops in Afghanistan that didn't end well, just like the British.
True.
The British at the Great Game, that time called the Great Game between Russia. Basically, you need to understand, Russia wanted to go to India, but India was part of the British Empire.
What era is this? Victorian?
Yeah, that's the Victorian era, of course. Yes, and you need to understand that the British wanted to create a buffer zone between India and Russia because they didn't want the Russians to intervene into India because they've had all their trades. It was the
True,
jewel
true.
of the crown,
course,
the jewel
of
of the
course.
British Empire. And we've seen there was a last stand of the British there, right? Just like the Americans had the last stand in their debacle leaving Afghanistan recently.
Right.
Same. And Winston Churchill basically wanted to be on all fronts, but the world was at peace, but he wanted to see action. Thankfully, he went to the Sudan,
Yes.
and there was a charge there, the Omdurman charge. Winston
Very
Churchill
famous, yeah.
took part in the last cavalry charge of the history of humanity. Yes.
Think about that for a second. We're at a phase now when the Victorian era is waning. The empire is at its height, and as conflict erupts in all of its domains all over the world, it's increasingly apparent that the old empire is shedding its skin, and a technological world is emerging. And in the midst of this rapid technologization, there is one final outcry, one final spasm of romance and of Homeric epic glory, as a young man looking to build his name and live up to the heritage of his ancestors steps on horseback and charges into the bullets on the back of a horse for the last time in history.
Completely.
It's the death of romance and the advent of democratic mechanization. Modernity is truthfully upon us in
Look.
all its terms.
Yes. We have very interesting codes here. Very interesting codes. Yes. Now,
Churchill was well known for his quotes.
oh, here it is. War, which used to be cruel and magnificent, has now become cruel and squalid. In fact, it has been completely spoiled. It is all the fault of democracy and science.
Why? Why is it the fault of democracy and science? Are we here to tell you that democracy is bad? Of course not.
Just as Churchill believed, democracy is a bad system, but
It's the best of what we have.
Yes.
But regardless, we're not here to lecture you about morality. Why is it that democracy results in such a cruel and gruesome war-fighting experience?
Because just as the age of heroes during the Greek era, the ancient Greek era, used to oppose two heroes of their own peoples,
Yes.
and then with the
It's Hector versus Achilles.
then the democratization of the phalanx, now you had formations of men.
Or of the Athenian navy. Now you have men in the ships rowing together.
Men used to stand as walls defending their countries now, so every single man had a word now.
Yes, exactly.
That gave rise to democracy. Or you could say that warfare shaped democracy. And you need to understand, at that time, domestic policy, as it should actually, was bent to foreign policy. And
domestic policy at the service of foreign.
And not foreign at the service of domestic. That's called decadence.
Yeah.
When foreign policy is at the service of domestic policy, it is called the
decadence.
Beginning of the end.
It's called inversion.
Exactly. So again, for domestic policy needs to be adapted and at the service of foreign policy.
Completely.
Okay?
It's no longer the case as in Shakespeare's plays where it says, "We the merry band of brother, we the fortunate few." Like literally war fighting, hence Churchill's glorious and glamorous imagination for war fighting. It used to be a small troop of men together as a band of brothers in arms, fighting. It was the champions of one nation against the champions of another. But then as you see the expansion and what technology does is it homogenizes, it lifts people out of poverty into the middle class. They want to partake in the decision-making of their nation. Well, now they also have to partake in the defense of your nation. What democracy does, especially in war, is it means you fling the entire mass of one nation into the entire mass of one nation.
Levé en masse.
Exactly.
First you had names fighting names, now we have numbers fighting numbers.
Yes, and it's an influence of Jean-Jacques Rousseau's social contract, hence the vast numbers of Le Grand Armée de Napoléon.
Of course.
The wars of kings had ended, and the wars of nations had begun.
Nice. The rise of empires.
Yes.
So Winston Churchill basically went throughout the empire to find glory. Why? Because
he wanted to advance his political career. They called him Pushful the Younger because of his ambition.
Exactly. Right? And he went to India. Okay, he used to play polo in India as a British officer. They used to take polo very seriously. You need to understand
All
that
sporting.
That game that emanated. We're talking to you about statesmen, not politicians, by the way. There's a huge difference. Politicians think in terms
of elections,
of the next election. A statesman thinks
in terms of generations,
of the next generation. There's a huge difference there. Okay, we're talking to you about men who are versed like you have no idea.
Oh, the entire British civil service at the time were experts in Plato and Aristotle. They could recite the Republic front to back.
They used to the worst of them. The worst of them. Yeah. Voilà.
The one that's at risk of being fired.
Exactly. Yes, he used to master ancient Greek, Latin, and Farsi, ancient Persian, right? And we have here all the volumes of the Second World War written by Winston Churchill.
This is a great historian, by the way.
By the way, what edition is that? What year? Can you tell me?
Let's see how
that's a very old edition, by the way. Yes.
Wouldn't it be beautiful? These are 1950. Okay.
1949 edition. That's a 1949 edition of the Second World War volume. I think that's the first.
This could be the first edition, actually.
Yes, actually.
What a valuable piece. Holy smokes.
1949,
Yes.
right? So, yeah, just so you know, like, we're full of surprises. I won't lie to you. And
If only you knew what I have hiding under my bed.
if only.
That's going to stay a secret. For now.
Until one day.
Yeah.
Now, so he took part in the last charge of cavalry, and of course, then he used to go play polo in India. He went to Cuba. He went to Cuba because you need to understand Cuba.
He was a big fan of the cigars.
Of course. Oh, that's where he developed that habit of smoking cigars.
I was joking, but actually?
Yeah, actually, yes.
Yeah, okay.
No, actually, that's
Cool.
where he took that habit of smoking cigars. It's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So in the book, he discusses. It's true. It's true. He discusses how basically they used to, and that's how he developed that love for whiskey. Okay, how? Yeah, because in Cuba the water was banned.
We've got some on our table here.
Oh, speaking of the angel. So you know what whiskey means in Gaelic?
Tell me a bit about the etymology
In
of the word
Gaelic,
whiskey.
Digwech conacetatu.
Digwech conacetatu.
Digwech, God be with you. Conacetatu, how are you? Dies meragwit. So you say Digwech,
Digwech.
God be with you. Then you answer Dies meragwit,
Dies meragwit.
like God and the Virgin Mary be with you.
Right.
Then you say Pogmahon, but I won't translate that part. So my first girlfriend was Irish. That's true. And I'll tell you what, it means holy water in Gaelic, actually. But anyways, basically in Cuba, the water was very bad. So they used to pour a bit of whiskey in the water to make it
kind of purify.
Yeah, that's how he developed that habit of drinking whiskey.
Cheers.
Cheers, Churchill.
To Winston.
Yeah, to Winston. Anyways, so that's where he developed the habit of smoking cigars, of drinking
whiskey.
diluted whiskey.
Right.
Okay. And he didn't like it at first, but then he got used to it. And you need to understand, 20 to 25.
Those are the years.
So 20 to 25 are the years where young men develop their lifelong habits. That's why it's very important to know that. Winston Churchill.
And that's the beauty of biographies, especially if you're a young person. You can compare and see what other people were doing when they were your age.
Exactly.
You have a frame of reference. If you don't know what to cling yourself onto and what point onto which to guide the energies and efforts and passions of your life, you could benefit from some biographies.
By the way, we want you to go like, subscribe, share.
Comment, share.
Of course.
That would be a great immediate use of your energies, for example.
We have a link in our description where you can, of course, support us financially.
Spiritually,
of
morally.
Course. All the money will be invested in the Friday Salon. And
for your viewing pleasure,
and
which is our
treasure, of course.
Yeah.
So we will reinvest all of your funds in the Friday Salon, in our equipment, in our alcoholic consumption, and all great stuff that would make that channel better, right? More than that, I would say that Winston Churchill saw action in all of the corners
frontiers, yes,
of the empire, right?
Most significantly, let's talk about South Africa.
South Africa with the Boer Wars.
Yes.
So the Boer Wars, ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand the main reason why we made that episode most of all was because Winston Churchill is one of the greatest figures, we could say, in history, we could say, right? Easily. And because especially we've made our preceding episode was about
the history of capitalism in the Dutch republics. Yes,
exactly. And we gave you a bit of context, and we really invite you on seeing how capitalism was born, how it emanated from what, from Protestantism. You will love it, honestly. You will love it because you have great taste. That's why. So Winston Churchill went to South Africa because there were actions between the Boers. You see, the Boers are the Dutch farmers that immigrated into South Africa.
Correct.
To create republics, a bunch of republics, of course, at the model of those Dutch republics in
Amsterdam, the Flanders, Belgium.
Exactly.
After the time of Charles Quint.
Exactly. So they've created republics there. The British came over because the British took over with capitalism.
Yes, and plus that's a very strategically important point. This is a time before the Suez Canal, right? So the Cape, the southernmost point of South Africa, controlled
Cairo.
Controlled global commerce.
So the British wanted to connect South Africa with Cairo.
Yes.
You see? They wanted to connect.
They wanted to choke the Mediterranean and the Pacific and the Atlantic.
The tip of Africa with Cairo. Cairo was the property of the British before.
From one peak of the continent to the next.
Before the assumption of King Farouk, it was a British protectorate, if you'd like. So Winston went there to South Africa as a war correspondent for the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail.
Telegraph, I think.
Daily Telegraph.
Daily Telegraph.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
just like Hemingway was the Toronto
Star.
Star. Hemingway.
Cool guy.
Same. Hemingway. We'll do Hemingway, by the way.
I'd love to.
By the way.
For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Yes,
is a sick
by
one.
all means.
And there's a Metallica song about that.
For whom the bell
Yes.
tolls. Yes. And Winston Churchill went there. Of course, everybody was against him going there. He got a commission.
You know, he was that cocky guy on a white horse.
Literally.
So you can see, like, he's emulating Napoleon. Like, there was a kind of stigma that came with riding a white horse.
Of course.
And his superiors were always like, that guy's going to get himself killed. Why is he being so flashy? You know?
Exactly. Just like Murat,
Yes.
Napoleon's Marshal Murat. He used to dress like a rooster. Okay.
True.
And with a white horse. Okay. He was kind of a nouveau riche, but a nouveau riche with style. And Churchill was an old riche, but an old riche also with style, cigars, and whiskey. And he, of course, imported a lot of whiskey and cigars to South Africa so he could survive. Food was secondary. But
As was water. As was water.
Of course. So to quench his stress, his thirst, he used to have a lot of whiskey and cigars and on the white horse. And that was how he spent his youth. He didn't go to the club, you see, like you.
He wasn't hitting the bars. He
No.
wasn't hopping out of one bar to the next on the brink of vomiting on the street, for example.
I'll tell you what he used to do. He used to take part into the delicacies of Venus offered by all the finest prostitutes of the four corners of the empire, first of all. Yes. With the finest whiskey from
Available.
the Dutch Highlands.
Yes.
Are you in a rush?
I am.
He has a date. Okay, that's why he's been watching his watch for the past 15 minutes. But please, can we provide quality?
We'll wrap it up soon.
No,
And in style.
and in style. Okay, he has a date with a beautiful, mesmerizing, dazzling young lady. I won't lie to you. So we'll be quick. Okay. Anyways, so
The interesting part is when when the train that he was riding on got derailed by some Boer commandos. We'll talk about commandos later. And as the train, what they did is they put 3 rocks in front of the train tracks.
okay, wait. So Churchill went as a war correspondent for the Daily Telegraph. At that
Because
time,
he wanted to increase
at
his
that time,
political
Nikita has a
prestige.
date. Can we be fast? She has a sister.
Something like that. I don't know.
Really?
Who knows?
But can you text her and tell her?
Allons-y. On
Really?
y va.
Okay,
I'll
now
feel
we
like
need to be faster.
I'll pull some strings.
Okay. So basically, at the time, officers could be also war correspondents. You see, you didn't have cameras, so people used to go there and write about what was happening.
And that's how he made his fame.
He made a lot of money too, by the way. Okay. And so yes, so he was an officer with a commission, and at the same time a news reporter, as if you'd like, a war correspondent. He used to write for the Daily Telegraph and he used to make a lot of money at the time. So yes, the train episode, what happened?
Right. The Boer commandos, what they did is Churchill was part of this supply train that was heavily gunned. They had a big naval gun, machine guns, 2 troops of infantry, whatever. But look at how the Boers defeated this mechanical monster. Not with another mechanical monster. Of course you cannot. They did asymmetric warfare, a lot like we saw in Lawrence of Arabia.
And Churchill used to describe the Boer commandos as being the greatest fighting force since the Mongol invasion on horseback, because the advantage of the Mongols
was their rapidness.
And because they used to be able to shoot arrows on a horseback,
Yes.
and they were great marksmen, the Boers.
As were the Boers, yes.
Yes,
The
you
Mongols
see?
and the Boers.
And that's where Churchill got that idea of commando. Commando is
Special forces, yeah.
It's a Boer word.
Yes.
That's how he created the SAS, right?
Cholera.
Churchill created
Along
those.
with another Scottish guy.
We discussed that. No,
Yes.
we discussed that. The Scottish aristocrat. How could I forget his name?
From the Highlands.
How could I forget his name?
Ross something?
No, how could I forget his name? It's impossible.
We pay homage to him nevertheless.
No. It was. I forgot. You have a date. I forgot.
Let's not linger on it.
And basically, so Churchill basically took that way of war fighting with small specialized units.
Hit and run fighting.
hit and run, right? Commandos.
Asymmetric, non-conventional.
So that was the advent, that was the upbringing of the first special forces, of course, with the creation of the SAS. And therefore, he saw in South Africa that war between Europeans on that continent.
The Anglos and the Dutch.
Yes, and he saw a lot of humanity during that war. He was, of course, captured after
Yes, after that train derailment. Yes.
So he was on a train that derailed,
and even though he was a non-combatant, he nevertheless took part in the shooting and the pulling of triggers
yes,
and the launching of bullets.
yes, and he was captured. He was sent to kind of a concentration camp. Look, even the British used to have the Boers in concentration camp. Like it wasn't like if you like it was like the Americans with the Japanese during the Second World War. Internment, right? So it wasn't like extermination camp. You see what I mean? It was a place where they would put them for till the end of the hostilities.
Prisoners of war.
Nonetheless, it was cruel, right? But not as the extermination camp and the atrocities we would see later on. That was unimaginable at the time. And he saw a lot of humanity between those Europeans there, those even Protestants between themselves, when he was captured. And he discusses a lot about the humanity later on in the House of Commons, when he would join the House of Commons at the seat of his father. He would be actually in favor of the Boer cause. He used to say basically that you always need to show strength in times of hostilities, but then once you've destroyed, obliterated the enemy,
you lay out a hand to them.
You lay on a hand to him, and you build peace
together
with the enemy.
Yes.
And he also said, and that was the beginning of his demise after when he lost the elections at the end of the Second World War.
Yes.
Right? He also said that the people who are proficient in war cannot be the people shaping peace, because he who destroys can also be he who builds. Contrary to Napoleon, actually, which used to be who used to destroy and build at the same time. Incredible.
Mind you, he did run when he was younger, but he lost an election. It was a by-election.
David Sterling.
Yes.
SAS, yes. That's the founder of the SAS.
David Sterling.
David Sterling, yes. Thank you. That's the whiskey. The whiskey, yeah. Tell me more.
The Anglo-Saxon is just rushed into your head with that whiskey.
The Highlander chieftain.
The Highlander chieftain. Yeah. It's very interesting. I think that a lot of his political intuition also came from the admixture of his aristocratic and his bourgeois lineage. And I mean, one of the most important events in his life was definitely the death of his father, Randolph. And at that moment, he has to kind of fulfill that myth of recovering your father from the underworld. Whether it's Odysseus going to the underworld and meeting with his fallen comrades.
The Dream. The Dream. He wrote a story called The Dream, and that edition, by the way, that Nikita bought me for my birthday.
True.
By the way, right? It's a great edition. Okay, it's from. Well, I've never thought of that, honestly. From who?
It should say on the front cover, no?
Yeah, well, there's a sign. Added.
Yalla, my bad.
Interesting. Oh, no worries. Okay. St. Augustine's Press. Yes.
Sesquicentenary edition.
I see.
75
years?
Yes,
it was printed, but yes.
St. Augustine's Press. South Bend, Indiana.
Edition. Very nice. Beautiful edition. Okay. Look. That's his mother.
Jenny Jerome.
Yes. Beautiful, magnificent, roving lady.
What were you saying about The Dream?
So, at the end of that book, we have that, we could say, as Winston used to call it, his personal writings.
His confessions.
It's called The Dream, where he dreamt of his father after...
Exactly like Hamlet seeing the father of his ghost.
Exactly. Where he confronts the ghost of his father while he was painting.
And that's super mythological, by the way. It's a mythological trope that whether it's the Odyssey, the Oresteia, the Aeneid, that a character, a hero, in order to actualize himself, has to descend into the underworld and recover his dead father. And in Churchill's case in particular, it was recovering the legacy of the Duke of Marlborough and of Lord Randolph, living up to them and embracing the virtues that they that they themselves embodied. So the resurrection of the dead father from the underworld, it doesn't mean you actually take the corpse of your father and bring it up from Hades. It means you resurrect and internalize the virtues, the male virtues of your father in order to actualize yourself. And that's exactly what happened with Churchill.
And he was ready to confront him actually at the
Yeah.
time, because look, he was the man who united the continents, the Anglo-Saxons, the old and the new world.
Across the Atlantic.
The old and the new world.
The aristocracy and the bourgeois.
You know, Churchill used to say that the Americans will, at the end, always do the right thing after trying everything else. It's true. The Americans will always do the right thing after trying anything else. He used to even say, a good war is fought with British officers,
Canadian
soldiers, and American steel. Yes. Okay? Voila. Yes. Rule Britannia!
Britannia rule the waves.
Yalla!
Truly.
Truly yalla.
Truly.
Anyways,
What else can we touch on in the meantime?
well, so in the Boer Wars, he of course we've discussed about his habits of whiskey in Cuba and of cigars, of reading. He used to say, I was always surrounded by books, and therefore I was always surrounded by good company.
Yes.
Okay? And of course, he was an officer, and then he left his commission after being famous. He was the first influencer. He used to write a lot.
Truthfully.
He was the first influencer. Like, he used to take stories at the
He used to
front
be
of the Boer
Yo
Wars.
guys, my train, like, if I had my phone here. Yo guys, my train just got derailed. The Boers are gonna arrest me.
Literally.
I'll let you know, but I think they're gonna take my phone. Stuff like that.
Exactly. So he was really good at that, okay? He could have been one of the greatest influencers nowadays. Anyways.
Too bad he didn't have Instagram. He would have
Literally.
been like, click the link in my bio for cigars. Like, it would have been like that.
Literally. And therefore, he encountered the ghost of his father. Sorry, we've gone a bit, we've opened parentheses.
Hamlet, Carl Jung,
Yes,
cigars, Instagram. He has the ghost of his father in a dream, right?
And he was finally ready to confront him, because he was the man, of course, again, who united the old and the new world in the face of course, tyranny and perverse ideas that were taking over the continent.
Yes.
Perverse ideas. And he wrote that masterpiece. That's one book, by the way. That's the memoirs
Hold
of
on,
Churchill.
I'm not seeing this one here.
Yes. So yes.
Should I stack them all on top of each other, or do you get the point? Like, it's a lot of words.
Okay. That's his memoirs on the Second World. That's the first edition, by the way. That's the first edition that we got here, right?
Just a long thing.
Like, we can do a video about that, okay? It would take us days, okay? You don't have the patience, okay? You're all used to scroll on shorts, okay? That's why,
and
honestly...
you have busy lives yourselves.
Yeah, but honestly, that's why we do shorts, because, like, most of the individuals nowadays, right? They have fish brains. They need to, dopamine, more dopamine. So you can't really focus if we made a video about it. We might do a series one day, maybe. But anyways, we're just bragging about it. And more than that,
he was an influencer. He talks about his dream with the ghost of his father.
of course, and he was painting, of course, on a canvas in Chartwell. Basically, Churchill, you need to understand, he inherited an estate quite abruptly. He wasn't expecting it, but one of his aunt just deceased, and he got like a piece of land or an estate, and he sold it, and he bought Chartwell. And Clementine didn't really like the house. His wife, Clementine Hosier, right? But he used to take her on the balcony and say, Clemmy, I bought it because that is England. And he used to show her the fields of England. It's a very romanticized.
Yeah.
It's in the Kent, in the heart of England. I would love to visit it one day. We should go.
100%.
Honestly. We should go.
100%.
Right?
Yes.
It's to a trust. It's the property of a state trust.
Okay.
We can go visit it, by the way. Yes, anyways. And so you got the points. Honestly, a man of letters, a man of action.
He is the warrior scholar.
Literally.
He is the bourgeois aristocrat. He is the aristocratic bourgeois. He is new money and old money. He is House of Commons and House of Cards. He is cigars. He is whiskey. He is water. He is peace and he is war. He is conflict and he is resolution.
Wow.
He is Winston Churchill. He is America and Britain. He is the transatlantic unification. He is the waning of the Victorian Empire and the sprouting of a new Britain. And he is the subject of today's rousing episode of
More than that.
the Friday Salon.
More than that.
More than that.
More than that. He's a man of extremes.
On both ends.
After saying, one day we've had, who was the general of the forces, the British forces during the Second World War? Who used to wear a beret? That British general.
Montgomery.
When General Montgomery told him, I do not drink, I abstain from alcohol. It impedes me from being at 100%. Churchill answered, well, I drink all the time and I'm always at 200%. Or for example, when the King, Edward VII, okay, the father of the belated Queen, may she rest in peace, okay, the one who ascended after, of course, his brother married Wallace Simpson.
Wallace Simpson, yes.
Well, Edward VIII, it was, right? And basically, he told him, like, he was leading the war during the war cabinet. I've also visited the underground war cabinet where Churchill used to lead the war. Sorry, so excuse us. You'll be on time. With Lord Beaverbrook, Minister of Ammunition, MAN. And
man.
Exactly. And he used to lead the war there, and he used to meet the king, of course, as tradition wants it, every Wednesday. And the king used to see him drinking for breakfast. He used to be like, are you starting to drink now? Like, is that the guy leading is that the guy leading the empire?
The
war? Is that the guy? He's like, yes. So he was a man of contradictions, honestly. Like when for example, a gentle lady told him that you are a drunkard, he said, yes. But tomorrow I will be sober, and tomorrow you will still be ugly.
I know that one.
Yes. Or for example, when one lady told him, if I was your wife, I would poison your coffee. And he answered quite wittily,
yes.
If I was your husband, I would drink it. So that's Winston Churchill, a man of wit, a man of character, a man of eccentricity.
A true salon enjoyer.
Truly.
True salon enjoyer.
If he was amongst us nowadays, he would be in the middle.
True.
He would like and subscribe.
Let's do a toast to the Winston, the hidden Winston in between us.
Maybe he would appear here.
It's like Bloody Mary. If you say his name enough times, he appears out of nowhere. Winston Churchill, Winston Churchill, Winston Churchill, Winston Churchill, Winston Churchill.
KBO. He used to repeat that all the time. That was his whole philosophy.
What's KBO?
Keep buggering on.
Yes, keep calm and bugger on.
To that, I would say, shot. Voila. It's your pleasure.
It's our treasure.
Together.
We can.
Excellent.
Together, forever, no matter the weather.